Good day, everyone. Meteorologist Mark Molnar here. Thanks for joining me for this edition of Media Mark's Weather Tropical Edition. Here's Lee. I want to show you, look at that wind field already coming on shore near Cape Cod, Nantucket area, and it won't be long before it overtakes most of eastern New England here up into New Brunswick and Nova Scotia. Yeah, this system's going to be packing quite a punch here as it rockets here towards the north, making landfall on Saturday. And yes, we have 15, Tropical Depression 15 just behind it here. This system's going to be making a move as well. When we go out in time here, this becomes a Category 3 hurricane by the 20th. Is it destined to recurve out into the open Atlantic? And what is this feature off the southeast coast by the 22nd? Let's get into it. And taking a look at the infrared satellite of Lee, there it is. Yeah, rapidly moving towards the north. I'll show you the big, large infrared momentarily, but you can see this is looking much like a nor'easter. Already you can see the transition is likely begun, and all those high-level clouds just off to the northwest. Our massive view here of the infrared satellite view. This looks so much like a nor'easter, not a hurricane, but look at all that dry air on the east side. You got these clouds fanning off here to the northwest. It just looks like a classic nor'easter extratropical storm developing. So here we start with the European model, and we'll transition to the other hurricane models in the GFS. You can see, the track, the National Hurricane Center's taken this right into southwestern Nova Scotia. This is 5 a.m. on Saturday morning, so the 16th. So as we get through 8 a.m., this is bringing it on shore starting around 2 or 3 p.m. Saturday. Now, look how big the center is. So there's going to be a lot of area, according to the European model, making landfall here, including St. John. So that gets the Bay of Fundy into this. And I do have to make mention, right around this time, 7 o'clock is peak of the tide, high tide. So that is going to be detrimental here. I just want to caution you. There's going to be tremendous amount of wave action and potential surge here. So watch out for that. That's going to be tremendous. And as that pushes inland, things will improve. That's 11 p.m., so it's still in the Bay of Fundy by this point. But you can see most of the shower and thunderstorm activity is right over eastern Maine and New Brunswick here from St. John westward. So that's where the heaviest rain is likely to fall, as this system will likely at this point be an extratropical system. The National Hurricane Center actually has this making landfall as a tropical storm or an extratropical storm. So that is a little bit of good news, but it's still a massive storm with a massive wind field. So the problem with that is it's going to act like that much of a stronger storm rather than just, a small tropical storm. And that rockets off to the northeast towards Newfoundland here, towards the 18th at 2 p.m. You can see it's just north of Newfoundland here. So that's good news. It's going to start accelerating. So rainfall amounts are not going to be too terribly awful here. And we're going to talk about 15 here momentarily. And as we take a look at the New England effect here, eastern New England, I don't want to leave you out because, yes, you're on the backside of the system, but look by 5 a.m. on Saturday morning. You're dealing with a lot of heavy rain and wind coming out of the east here. And look at this as we continue to go throughout the day on Saturday. Yeah, it is getting a lot of dry air here on the backside of it, which is some good news, but you're still going to see a lot of rain and wind here from eastern Massachusetts, Rhode Island, extreme eastern New Hampshire here up to Maine, especially eastern Maine. So yeah, that's going to be the big story. Also expect 1 to 3 foot surges here as well. So our hurricane model here, let's take a look and see what is going on with it. So yeah, the hurricane model's taking this right up just east. It's east of Cape Cod. It's well east. But look at that. Showers and thunderstorms getting their way into Nantucket, Cape Cod. Very gusty. And look at this. So tropical storm warnings. Heed all those tropical storm warnings. I do caution you, this hurricane model is taking it just slightly west of guidance, what I was telling you last night, bringing it in the Bay of Fundy, and targeting St. John area and just slightly west over to Lubbock here. So, yeah, this is definitely a very interesting scenario we're going to have to keep an eye on, because if the center does get into the Bay of Fundy here, especially at 8 p.m. on Saturday evening, during just after high tide. So high tide is just after 7 o'clock, like 7:05, 7:10. This is something we're going to have to keep a very close eye on because it could have some impacts, especially on any surges or water rises, and especially wave action. And then by 2 a.m. on the 17th, we're rocketing towards the northeast. Rainfall will be kept to a minimum, although I do caution you because look at even the hurricane HWRF model. There's areas, especially just west of St. John here, extreme eastern Maine. I would not be surprised if you get over 100 millimeters of rainfall here. That could be enough definitely to cause some flash flooding and flooding problems. So here's our 3D simulated infrared satellite here, thanks to the hurricane model. Look at this. Yeah, by this 8 a.m. on Saturday morning, look how extra tropical it looks. You see most of the showers and thunderstorms are void on the eastern side. Yeah, that tells you right there this is becoming very extratropical, especially on the back side of the system in eastern New England. This is going to feel very much like a nor'easter. Eastern Maine, though, you're going to get pounded there with a lot of rain and wind, especially tropical storm force winds. But look at here. Let's get a timestamp on this. This is 8 p.m., so this is getting towards landfall point according to the hurricane model here, the HWRF. The center just south of St. John by this point, heading northward. And look at how that comma shape is really winding up here. Yeah, this is definitely extra tropical by that point and accelerating north of Newfoundland. This is just, I don't think this is getting enough coverage out of this storm. This is probably, the biggest section of the storm because you have so much wind over such a large area. It's going to move water, more water than if this was just a tiny, regular Category 1 hurricane or potential tropical storm at landfall. Look at this. So as we head towards 11 a.m. on Saturday, let's just actually back that up just a bit. So yeah, some of these stronger winds, 50, 60 miles per hour, may get it onto Nantucket here, parts of Cape Cod. It's not going to make it too far inland, though, with those winds. But look at the donut shape of this. As we get towards 11 a.m., there it is, 2 p.m. Saturday, you do start to see the core of the strongest winds taking just offshore, just south of Halifax here. Of course, the European model taking it on shore initially here in southwestern Nova Scotia near Yarmouth here, and then heading kind of in this general direction towards the Bay of Fundy. If the hurricane model's a little more correct here, then it would kind of steer right around here and then head right up in the direction of St. John here. So that's definitely a trend. That's going to make a very big difference in the Bay of Fundy here. So look at that. There's the core of the winds. Once it makes landfall, the winds die down very significantly. So here we go with the GFS model. You can see very, very large circulation here. As we continue to go out in time here, watch this. So this is getting into Saturday here. There it is approaching the coastline. Let's see if it's actually online with the Euro. It does. It looks like it pretty much brings it first on shore here in southwestern Nova Scotia. You can see, and then right across the Bay of Fundy here. Watch what happens with the GFS. It's just a tad east, but it's still, the center circulation clipping St. John here. Look at all the heavy rain over New Brunswick there. That is going to be the bullseye for heaviest rain, and that's going to accelerate to the northeastward. So you're going to have to watch out for rainfall amounts over 100 millimeters here in New Brunswick. So definitely watch out for that. There's going to be some freshwater flooding inland as well. But there it is, rocketing to the northeast. That East Coast trough really doing its work and kicking that system out. You can see that. So yeah, this system essentially moving between first two areas of high pressure. You got a trough here just to the north, and then another area of high pressure retreating to the east here. So it's kind of allowing the system to exit and then eventually accelerate towards the northeast. Thanks to Tropical Tidbits here for our dry air analysis, especially at mid-layers. There's a 969 millibar lee winding up over New Brunswick and Nova Scotia and eastern Maine. There you go for later Saturday into early Sunday. Look at that. Cruising to the northeast. There's our next potential storm, Nigel. There's Margot, kind of caught up there in the westerlies, weakening, thankfully. It will be heading towards the Azores. But look at our system, this big old high-pressure system with massive dry air kicking potential Nigel off to the northeast, but we still have a lot of tropical waves. And what's going to happen with this area off the southeast coast where you see a massive slug of tropical moisture? Look at that. On the west side of this high-pressure system, there's that low dropping south across Canada with potential severe weather. Look at on the east side, this big old area of low pressure, whatever it becomes by this point, by the 26th, got plenty of time to watch it. It's 11 days out. Could be pushing a lot of tropical moisture up into parts of the mid-Atlantic and the Carolinas. So taking a look at just rainfall from Hurricane Lee. There we go. We're going to stop Sunday morning right there. There's eastern Maine getting upwards of 2.5, 3.5, close to 4 inches, maybe 4.5 inches of rain. Looks like Cape Cod and Nantucket, you're getting about anywhere from about 2 inches, close to 2.25 here. Boston, I think you'll get a bit more than that. The European model really cutting this off, probably a little bit too close inland here. So as we take a look at the Canadian rainfall here, each model run of this, let's just stop at Sunday morning or Sunday afternoon. There we go. Sunday morning. That's good. So you see some of these yellows getting up into, I know it's hard to see. I do need to get a better Canadian rainfall map here. But as you can see, there's New Brunswick, 100 to about 150 millimeters of rainfall. Maybe not that much, but 100 to 125, that's a little concerning there. So that's going to be, a solid 3 3/4 upwards of, that was terrible. All right, so as we talk about Tropical Depression 15 out here, this storm's likely to become Nigel as we go in time here. Let me take a look here with the European model, and look at this. By the 19th and then the 20th and the 21st, this is likely becoming a Category 3. The good news with this system so far, it's too early to say whether this could make landfall along the eastern coastline here of the United States and southeast Canada. Way too early, but the good news is slowly this trend is bringing the system a bit farther to the north and to the east, especially with this trough kicking in. If this trough and timing is correct, it would help bring this system and recurve it back out into the North Atlantic like this. The only thing I caution with this kind of scenario, it's bringing it in the direction of the Azores, and that is not really a good thing by the 23rd. Also, Margot here. Here it is on the 20th, just continuing to do loops out here. That system will eventually get caught in the westerlies as well and head east towards the Azores. By the time it does, though, it will be pretty washed out, which is great news. We do have another system on our radar out here that we haven't talked about at all. This could become quite a thing as we go out in time. There's plenty of time to watch this, though, and this has it heading a little bit more towards the west. And what about this system that I was showing you at the beginning of the video off the southeast coast? If you look, it's right around the 19th and the 20th. We have very persistent showers and thunderstorms at the base of this trough. And this is the thing you got to watch, through hurricane season. Any one of these very stagnant areas of showers and thunderstorms, there it is, the 21st into the 22nd. Could we actually have something developing here? We might actually have something we need to keep an eye on as we go in time here. You can see September 22nd, 23rd. This is kind of strange. This can happen this time of year where you get some sort of hybrid system or even a nor'easter developing. Look at this. This is the 23rd. It's looking pretty nasty here as we go into the mid-Atlantic. And look at that. That would be some tremendous rain up here into the mid-Atlantic and the Susquehanna River Valley. This is something we definitely need to keep an eye on and heading towards the Catskills and Hudson Valley in New England by the 24th. So definitely something we need to keep an eye on. And look at, there's another wave on the 24th approaching the Bahamas. So for the GFS, what is going on with 15 here? Well, becoming Nigel, a pretty big hurricane. I don't know why I'm losing my precipitation mode on the models here. This has been happening a lot. There we go. That is better. Look at that. There is unanimous agreement here so far. Too early to say, but this is good news. And this is a good trend we're seeing. This system, this potential hurricane being picked up, potential Nigel, well up into the North Atlantic and congealing and combining with that massive low pressure system up there. There's that next system we got to watch, the GFS taking it weaker and further to the south. bringing it down towards the Leeward Islands. So yeah, if this were to remain a weaker system, it would actually potentially maybe have some impact here across the islands. And as we head here across the Caribbean, Gulf of Mexico, and then off the southeast coast, there it is for the 21st. Look at this big wave down here. This wasn't showing up too much on the European model, but just south of Jamaica by the 21st. That is definitely something we definitely need to keep an eye on. That's going to head towards Belize and all the Latin American countries here. But there's our area. Let me just zoom out just a tad here. Off the southeast coast, you can see that's pretty persistent. It's a bit further to the east than the European model has it by the 23rd here, but that spins it towards the coast more into the southeast coast. And look what starts to happen here across the Western Caribbean. We start to get a surge of tropical moisture here into Jamaica, the Cayman Islands, and eventually Cuba, especially Central America as well. But what's going on here in the southeast? There's definitely something up here with this system. Now, it doesn't take it as well. It does start to take it further north, not as quickly as the European model, but we may have something developing here along the U.S. East Coast, whether it be tropical, subtropical, extratropical, or even early season nor'easter to be had here. Now, as we head to the Caribbean here, you can see it's pretty dry for the Cayman Islands and Jamaica through the weekend, but we do get some showers and thunderstorm action here, upwards of 13 to 22 millimeters, a quarter to or 3/4 to an inch of rain. But the big rainfall comes later next week as we get into the 21st, 22nd, 23rd. Look what starts to happen here. This big old slug of moisture starts to impinge from the south here, and then look at this big wave here to the southeast coast, east of Florida. That's where we're going to start to see moisture. And here in the Cayman Islands and Jamaica, you're going to be caught right in the middle here. This is where you could see upwards of 50 to 70 millimeters, probably 2.5 to 3 inches of rain. And as we head over to the Eastern Caribbean here, yeah, things are looking pretty dry from Trinidad, Tobago, northward to the Virgin Islands. You will get some showers here with a little passing extremely light wave here, 10 to 20 millimeters, not even an inch. So as we continue in time here, the 21st, 22nd, you do start to get some tropical wave action. I do think activity will start to perk up here into parts of the Lesser Antilles. All right, so let's take a look at our HRRR model here. Yeah, this is going to be interesting because this includes coverage of Hurricane Lee. Take a look at this. So yeah, as we get into 8 p.m., 9 p.m., 10 p.m., 11, there it is. As we head throughout the overnight hours of Friday night into early Saturday morning, you start to see what's happening here. There's the cloud shield. There's the center of Lee, and watch this head right up. So this makes it westward to Boston by 4 a.m. Nantucket is already in the thick of all this, all the way up to Portland, Bangor, Maine, and then heading up towards St. John and Nova Scotia as well. Look at how this plows to the north here as we get towards 7 a.m., 8 a.m. on Saturday. So yeah, you're going to be having a rainy, windy day here in eastern Massachusetts, Rhode Island, eastern Connecticut, Cape Cod. Yeah, you're going to be getting buffeted by these winds and some waves and a little bit of surge as well. So watch out for that, especially during the high tide phases here. But look at this, Maine and New Brunswick really getting pounded with heavy rain here. Look at that. And as we head towards 11 a.m., noon, 1 p.m., 2 p.m., look what starts to happen here. You start to have a shield of very heavy rain here just south of St. John, down off the coastline of eastern Maine. And that's where the focus of the heaviest rain is going to be. So any of those rivers and streams could really start to overflow their banks here from eastern Maine into New Brunswick here. And look at this, low pressure following right up along. Look at our HRRR. It's very close to the hurricane model, bringing it around Nova Scotia and then right up into the Bay of Fundy here. Now, it does bring it a little bit closer to Nova Scotia by this point. It's interesting to note that it still hasn't made landfall here on the HRRR model by 2 a.m. on Sunday morning. So it's still in the Bay of Fundy by this point. So that's, I mean, if this holds true, this would be a lot of water piling up here, being pushed to the northeast and then on the south shores here of New Brunswick. So please watch out for that, especially high tides. That's not going to be very fun at all. And that Look at that. The HRRR just bringing that along the whole Bay of Fundy there. That is remarkable. All right, so anything else to talk about? Well, there is a lot of shower and thunderstorm action here in the Appalachians. Look at that. Saturday and Sunday. There's Saturday and there's Sunday. You're eking out a really good day from the Ohio Valley into the Northeast, but look at Sunday. Sunday is starting to look a little more pessimistic across southern Pennsylvania, southward along the Appalachians here. You do manage to stay mostly dry in Cleveland up to Buffalo, Syracuse, and Albany, down to Binghamton and Scranton. But look at that, Harrisburg and Pittsburgh, you're going to have to watch out. And look at this. We got some shower and thunderstorm action heading into the Ohio Valley and Michigan as we get into Sunday afternoon. All right, so taking a look at North American weather, this also includes Canada's weather as well. So let's take a look here. Let's just position ourselves perfectly, and we will continue. There we go. As we head on into the weekend, yeah, the big story grabbing the entire show is going to be Lee. But I can tell you, most other areas are quiet across Canada here. Look at that, from Ontario westward to as far west as British Columbia. It's not looking too bad here. There is going to be some unsettled weather here with this area of low pressure across the central and southern Appalachians. And as we continue to go throughout the weekend here, the 17th into the 18th, look at this. We get some spin up here of some showers and thunderstorms here. Eastern Ohio Valley up to the northeast here in the Carolinas, getting some very heavy rain. There's another area of low pressure that seems pretty dry here across the central plains of Canada. Look what does start to happen around the 18th, though. This low reaches the coast, and look at that. It taps into some tropical moisture here and feeds it right into southern New England. So that's definitely a trend we'll have to keep an eye on. Even southern Ontario and Quebec, you could be looking at an area of showers and thunderstorms heading north. And look at that. Maine getting more rain, as well as New Brunswick. By the time of the 19th, a big area of low pressure starting to develop. And that'll be moving into the Canadian Maritimes, so bringing you, unfortunately, more rain after Hurricane Lee. And then here's our next area of low pressures. We got a double barrel low, one right over the central plains of Canada and right over the north central plains of the United States. And as we continue to go out in time here, look at what's happening here in the east. This is by the 20th, a big area of high pressure, but there's our area we're a little concerned about here towards the Bahamas off the coast of Florida. A persistent area of showers and thunderstorms that does not want to go away. This high pressure blocking it initially from going any farther to the north here. But look at this. What's going to happen here is this high is going to begin to retreat towards the northeast. You have a low pressure here over Hudson Bay. That's going to be heading down towards the south. That may be enough to bring this system more north up the coast. Now look what's happening out here in the plains, and even the southern plains down towards Texas, and then even into the south central Canadian plains. Severe weather is going to become a thing here as we start to have a clash of the air masses. Now look what's happening here. You essentially have this big system here coming out of Colorado, big severe weather outbreak here from northeast Texas to Minnesota, and even into southern and central Canada here. Here's our next system across Ontario and Quebec. This high is retreating to the east. That starts to allow this moisture to head right up. Now let's just zoom in a bit into eastern Canada and the eastern United States. Watch how this plays out. If this does hold true, we could have some serious problems here heading on into parts of the mid-Atlantic and then eventually New England. And look at that. That high pressure keeps your weather beautiful here in Quebec and Ontario, but helps to promote more heavy rains here in the lower 48 of the United States. And there's our next system. This is almost looking like that pattern that we saw all winter long, these Colorado lows bringing these big storms out here into the plains. I am proud to announce that I am now an affiliate with Trilogy Maps. TrilogyMaps.com, bringing you the most digital, customizable maps found nowhere else on the internet. These maps are simply stunning. It's an advanced layering system that makes these maps great for making forecast maps with ease or any other maps that you would like to display important information on. The resolution on these maps is simply amazing. From the detail of everything here in the States, and you can also create stunning, digital, professional layered maps from also across the entire world. And don't forget, in checkout, the discount code option, use my code, MediaMark, hit apply, and you will get 20% off your order. So if you want the most professional, customizable, and affordable weather maps found nowhere else on the internet, look no further than TrilogyMaps.com. Link in the description down below along with your discount code. As always, thanks for joining me for this edition of MediaMark's Weather. Take a look at my Facebook page at MediaMark, also Weather Northeastern, also Hurricane Northeastern to follow the tropics. And if you want to hop over to my Twitter page, it's at Weather Eastern. It's MediaMark.com. Thanks for joining me. Question or comment down below. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that bell notification button so you're alerted when a video comes out.